Anayo, leave Shuge for me.
This is global politics, yeah? Global politics reads like Game of Thrones. If you're somebody who watches Game of Thrones, that's the closest thing you can find for me.
Welcome to the first edition of Part of View. My name is Mugisat, and of course, I've got a few people here with me in the studio.
Hi, my name is Shuge. I'm a broadcaster and a journalist.
Hello, my name is Anayo. I'm a parliamentary reporter.
Hello, my name is Oluwa Kemi. Yes, I'm a broadcast journalist. I'm also a finance correspondent.
Well, on the Part of View, what we do is that we talk about current issues that are happening in and across the country. I mean, I'm talking about politics, entertainment, business, everything that is happening across the world. We will talk about it on this podcast. Today, we have a lot of things to talk about. But first, let's talk about the one that is on everyone's lips, and that is the issue of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio. I'm going to have to throw this to you, Adayo. First, what are some of the things, because I feel like a lot of people do not even know what is happening, right? What are some of the events that led to where we are at right now?
Well, it's been a long-running event. First, sometime in February, the senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Uduaghan, had an altercation with the Senate President on the floor of the Senate. And that altercation didn't lead to anything. It only led to people going back home with reports of what happened on the floor in plenary. But recently, precisely last week, Thursday, the issue came up again. It was the time for Senator Natasha to raise what she considered was a point of order in the Senate, alleging that her rights as a senator has been breached, and she called up on Order 10, which has to do with privileges of a senator. And at that point, it was clear that she wasn't going to be allowed to speak on that order. So, and the Senate President, realizing that it was going to lead to some kind of altercation on the floor, did not allow that order to go. Moving forward, that brought us to what happened last week when the Senate President hosted some parliamentarians from the British House of Commons. They were in the plenary, they were in this gallery, and the Senator Natasha brought up that matter, and it came as a petition. Every senator has the right to submit a petition. But I think there was a procedural error, but she was not supposed to sign the petition, bringing that before the Senate. But don't also forget that even before that petition came to the National Assembly, she had granted an interview to a national television where she made allegations that the President of the Senate made passes at her during an event that she considered sexual harassment, that there was need for the National Assembly to take a look at it and investigate the matter. Well, I think realizing that she had to come through a substantive petition, she didn't make that petition last Thursday, but it was in error. And funny enough, the Senate accepted that petition in error. Some people say that maybe Mr. President of the Senate didn't want to be dragged again in the media, so he allowed her to drop that petition. But it was in error because Order 40 sub 4 of the Senate states that a senator cannot bring in a petition on herself or on himself and signed by, simply put, a senator cannot author a petition by himself and sign it and bring it before the Senate. So realizing that Natasha was progressing in error, the Senate Chief Whip, Senator Mohammed Mungunu, called up an order and drew the attention of the Senate to that error. So it was at that point that Senator Natasha decided to take up another privileges order that didn't go down well with the Senate. So that was the beginning of what culminated in her current dismissal or suspension from the Senate.
Yeah, speaking of that suspension, do you think it's harsh? Do you think it's too? Because there are people that have the opinion that is too much of a harsh punishment for the violation that.
No, there are two angles to this.
Yeah.
The allegation of sexual harassment in court, and even though what is before the court is an allegation that an aide of Mr. President of the Senate made a post on social media about her mode of dressing. That is one side. Don't also forget that the wife of the President of the Senate is in court for what she considered,
Defamation.
yeah, of the family character and all of that. So, when you say harsh, what she was suspended for procedural errors made by her on the floor. Because even when she was reminded that she was in error, she insisted and made it look like the National Assembly rules and regulations were, come after the point of that she was going to make. By the way, Order 10 that dwells on privileges does not necessarily give you the right to speak, even without the permission of the Senate President. He is the presiding officer. Even when he raises an order that borders on privileges, he still have to wait for the go-ahead from the President of the Senate. So her suspension basically, from the report of the Maxwell-led Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Petitions, was based on her attitude on the floor of the Senate. And her claim that all the bills and motions that came from her were stifled by the President of the Senate. The committee looked at all of this and reminded her that her bills on Ajukuta Steel Company went through. Her motion, on Ajukuta Steel Company went through. Her bill on the death of the Ohinoi was discussed in a big way and then passed. So the committee went in and looked at all of this and said, well, maybe there could be more to this than meets the eye. So it was based on her attitude on the floor that she was suspended. The matter of the sexual harassment is in court and has nothing to do with her suspension.
Shuge, do you have something to say about this topic?
I mean, it's a very sensational topic. Since the story of finding the national mace in Obudige cave with a 10-foot python guarding it, I don't think we've had anything that's interesting.
What?
I don't think we've had anything this interesting come out of the Senate in a very long time. So it's a very sensational story also, especially you're having cases of sexual harassment, which, I mean, you can look at that from different angles to see if it's true or not, look at the different angles and dissect it and whatnot. But the important thing is that people are talking about it. And if you notice online on social media platforms like X and whatnot, the 10% is being dragged like a generator if you actually genuinely look at it at it objectively, because a lot of younger people seem to kind of understand and empathize more with Senator Natasha, whereas a lot of older people seem to think, look, why is she making a big deal out of this? If somebody propositioned you or whatever, just say no and move on with it. There are a lot of people who have been through similar things like that and have not come out, smiling and whatnot. So seeing somebody in that position, in a position of authority, somewhere like the Senate, coming out to say, look, this is something I went through, even though it's all allegedly right now, it's a big thing, and it only makes sense that people will talk about it. Since last week Friday, when she went on Arise TV and made the allegations on national TV, I believe that video, that clip now has had over millions of views. So it's a very interesting topic. It's something that you're looking at. If you're going to look at, just as Anayo highlighted, there are a lot of procedural things that were not handled adequately. As a matter of fact, somebody called it a procedural crisis is what's going on in the Senate right now, because a lot of things are not going according to plan the way they should, and everybody seems to forget how things should be done on some level. So it depends on how you look at it. If we're not actually going to talk about if she's right or who's wrong or whatnot, that's a whole different subjective.
Would you say she's right?
That's a subjective thing.
No,
I don't know. I don't think you can be right or wrong in this case, right? Because she's making alleged claims
on the procedure.
Yes,
she's wrong.
Procedurally, she's wrong.
Yeah,
As
but
regards
this is
to
on
the
the allegations
claims
of
she's
sexual
making,
harassment.
yes,
No one knows.
we
because
can't know if she's
it has not been proven.
right or wrong.
Kemi
right?
has been smiling the whole time. I'm wondering I feel like she has a lot to say about this.
For me, yes, Shuge said something a while ago the younger generation are empathizing with Senator Natasha, the older generation are saying, what Akpabio did and all of that. For me, I think Senator Natasha haven't come this far. I mean, she didn't start politics today. She's gone from stages to stages, and she's gotten to, I would say, the peak of her career. People have made passes at her before now. I'm sorry to say. Passes have been made before now. So, is it that you take it or you leave it?
That's right.
Allow it to go and continue. Face your face. So now she's been suspended for 6 months. So those legislations that would have come through her to benefit her constituents, I mean, they've been stopped for the next 6 months.
Yes.
So the Senate president made a pass at you. You don't want it. Allegedly.
Yes.
Sorry, thank you for that correction. Allegedly. Why not just let it pass, dust it off, and move on?
No, but you have to understand, her coming out to make this claim is not because it meant you. I think we're all looking at this from with a one-track mind, and what Senator Tagiwa came out to say. She was trying to come off as be strong and dust this off your shoulder and move on. But she sounded very, very dismissive, which is what a lot of people sound like when we have these conversations. And they say things like, somebody made a pass at you, brush it off and move on. Yeah. It doesn't make it right. It's still wrong, though.
We're not saying it's right.
Yeah, no, but even when I write or wrong, she's coming out. Do you think she's not clearly?
At this level of her career, she should not be playing the victim.
Yeah, or playing the schoolgirl.
Right,
now, let me say this. Let me just quickly say this. Senator Akpabio, the president of the Senate, got emotional yesterday. He talked about attending her wedding in 2011, missing his flight and sleeping in a cement factory. So which means they've come a long way. Akpabio has known Chief Udanga before 2011. So at what point these repassings begin?
So,
all right, wait.
Just realized that she was a very attractive woman recently.
But I think
it's still alleged. It's still alleged.
Wait.
But my question is this: with all of this going on, she has been suspended now. Is this case actually going to be looked into? Is it going to be investigated? And I'll tell you the answer. The answer is no.
But
it should actually be looked into.
The case is in court.
I mean, court schmore. What are we talking about here?
Part of the case.
Let's say this is a very big, massive hypothetical. The size of Nigeria. If in the court he is found guilty, what happens?
Finds him guilty.
Do you know that?
Is it the court of
Let me remind
Mrs. Akpabio or her uncle? There are two cases.
Mrs. Akpabio
Let me
now.
remind you that when the Senate committee invited her, she failed to show up.
On the advice of her lawyers. Which makes sense.
Your lawyer should advise you against the rules of the institution you belong to.
See, that's what I'm saying. It's a tricky.
No. Do you know if she had appeared before that committee, she would have made her point. She would have brought evidences that perhaps would have helped her case.
Do we really think that they would have heard her, that it would have been a fair hearing?
Do you know that?
No, there's anything she could have done that would have avoided this 6 months
She
suspension.
made it worse by not going.
The committee invited her to talk about the procedural error. Not about the.
But I want to correct something. I want to correct something because you said that she should just brush it off. I'm not going to take a stance or anything like that, right? But I think it's not as simple as that, right? The allegations are not just he made a pass on me. It's sexual harassment, right? So that is a lot more complex. That's not something you say brush it off. It's of course, there are allegations. So that is not something to brush off.
But now, the question is, how many people are involved in this? Don't forget that the Senate leader, Kwame Bamidele, expressed disgust yesterday too. Because in the interview, Senator Natasha did say that he called her up in the midnight. And yesterday, while we were in plenary, Senator Kwame said, yes, I did call her up. And I asked after, I said, how's your husband, my brother? Because, of course, at midnight, they expect that maybe the husband will be lying beside her. So, but how it sounded different on the interview. And that's what.
But why did he call her in the midnight?
No.
Why did he call her in the daytime?
No, it was a matter of national.
Politics is not done in daylight.
Yeah.
Is it just? I don't understand.
No, this is not the first time she's attending nocturnal meetings. I mean, getting calls in the midnight. It's happened. And that's why Senator Kitagwa said, if we kept going, if we were going to court in the 6th, 7th, and 8th Senate, our cases would be everywhere. Because you have, at that time,
statements like that are already indicting the institution.
No,
that's what I'm trying to
no,
say. That they're just simply trying to put it out there that look, this is not new.
No,
but this is just the first place to come
the
out
rule
and
book does
speak
not
about
recognize
it. That is the
male,
problem.
female senator. And you see, they call themselves, like if you see a female senator addressing another colleague, say, my brother senator.
When they they don't recognize gender. When they go, do they all chest bump each other and walk past?
No, they
exactly,
clap,
because they are men and they are women.
They clap,
Let's not talk
they
like
clap
gender isn't recognized. Gender is recognized.
They clap hands and
Gender is recognized.
In all of this, for me, I think, yes, I agree with the part that the institution should be protected. Good and fine. The institution should be protected. Now, it now beholds on the management of the National Assembly, the leadership of both chambers of the National Assembly to come together to ensure that their rule books upon which this senator has now been suspended is well explained. She's a first-timer.
Yeah.
She spent 16 months so far.
The induction ceremony.
God bless you. So
And
yes,
she also
all
indicted
of
the
that-
bureaucracy. She said the clerk of that she was handling did not give account of the money in her committee. So
Well, all of that,
So that's
I would
against
not
the
want to
bureaucracy
join
of the
issue
National
with all
Assembly.
of that. But for me, I still feel, as a new senator, please know what is what, so you don't go against procedures, and then you're being caught up in a web that you cannot explain.
Well, just like I said, since the mace was found in Ogunike Cave with a 10-foot.
That wasn't dramatic
the
enough.
most interesting
I think you should let go of
It
that
was
story.
under Academy. But don't forget that someone allegedly took the mace and ran a race of how many kilometers to the city gate.
Okay.
The mace
A
was.
name was named to
The
that
name
name.
was the name.
But what do you guys think? Do you think this approach that Senator Natasha has taken, do you think it will backfire on her, like politically speaking? Do you think it will
Of
help
course,
her?
Absolutely.
No,
It will
it's backfired.
There's
We
no
had
plus side to
we have
this for her.
comments coming from Iwira women saying that this is not how we do it. You know, they like a saying that this is wrong. We have also had people from Akwa Ibom youth saying, look, no one should touch our man. He's doing a good job. And just yesterday, the wife of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Remi Tinubu, said, look, the National Assembly is hallowed. No one should toy with its sanctity.
I mean,
And
even,
that is
Coming again to protect the
yes,
institution.
because she is a senator. Her mom is a senator because was a senator. So
Once a senator
and
is a
there's
senator.
a Senators Forum of Nigeria. So even after being in the chamber, they still have a forum. So it's a very strong
sure, yeah, you were
organization
saying.
that you can't.
no, I understand that the institution should be protected 100%, but I think to a large degree, I don't think Senator Natasha set out to disrupt the entire institution. I think she just set out to kind of look out for herself and put out something that she's been experiencing out there in the public. That is, this one person, this man is, is propositioning me, and I feel uncomfortable about it. And the truth is, look, we can say she skipped the procedure or whatever, but if you actually think about it, okay, so this week, I believe it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, she actually now went out and gave the petition. Even if she is not the one that signed the petition. Let's say youth in her community wrote the petition and signed it, because apparently that was one of the procedures that she missed, right? That she signed
but
the
you
petition
can't
herself.
give two petitions on the same matter.
But
That's
let's
also
but
procedure,
let's
yeah.
just say she did it the right way. The president of the Senate would have still shut it down. There's a reason why in organizations and in offices,
he allowed the
will
first
tell
petition,
you
though.
during your orientation into the office that you're not allowed to date or sleep with somebody who is in a higher office than you. Why? Because there are power plays there.
Yeah, we
it's
know,
a
we know.
tricky thing. She's a senator. He's the president of the Senate.
The
No
Senate
matter
leader
how
said
she
it
looked,
point
no
blank.
matter how this was played out, she was still going to take the brunt
Yeah,
of
but
it.
the Senate
Now
leader
she
said
has been
that
suspended
it's
for
not
6
about
months without pay.
Mr. Akpabio. The fight is between the Senate and Senator Natasha. Not Akpabio is just there. He's a seat.
That's the mistake we're making.
There's no
It has
mistake there.
become the institution.
It has to
against
do with the
Natasha.
rule book.
But initially, it was
It's the rule book
against
versus the
Akpabio.
senator.
That's how we're looking at it.
Look at it from
It's a rule book.
No, you should not come at me. I don't know Natasha from anywhere. I'm just trying to make a point. I'm just trying to make a point.
but guys, another thing that for me, another thing this 10th Senate must consciously do is to talk to themselves. You see, when they go behind closed doors, that closed door, the next time they go, please, I would really want them to sit down and frankly talk with themselves. What's happening? Today it is Senator Natasha. Tomorrow, who is it going to be? Before now, it was Ndumi. How many suspensions so far in one assembly? What is happening? What really? What are they not understanding?
Well, that's something for them to discuss among themselves, right? Let's move on to the next topic. I would say it's somehow related to this because on social media, as you said on X, a lot of people have been saying that, all these people that will be shouting women's right, but women are not standing behind Natasha. Well, speaking of that, it's International Women's Day, right? And we're we're in the Women's Month, right? March is the Women's Month. Do you really think that Nigeria has gone forward in terms of women empowerment and all of that? Do you think we're making any progress, or we're just holding seminars and conferences here and there to talk about women empowerment, but when the real problem comes forward, we don't see people coming to rally and support behind women, especially like women like Senator Natasha,
I must be frank. Women are not doing enough for themselves. Since after Beijing 1985, women came back asking for affirmative action. You remember when someone attempted to become a president as a woman and went to the Eagle Square, ended up being the one casting the vote for herself. She ended up having one vote. Yes, it's easy. It's easy to say. Yes, it's easy to say.
I was not of age then. I would have voted for her.
Just too long ago. No, not at your age. We do change the narrative. No, the truth is that women, some have also canvassed for, look, don't treat us as women. We are strong enough. I mean, why should you bring out 30% affirmative action for us? It's belittling. It's making us look like we're weak. That's another side of the argument. But people are saying, look, these people are, should be treated the way they should be treated, should be given a chance. They are busy back home. They have a lot of work to take care of the children. But I think that any woman that wants to venture into politics should be prepared. It's not an easy tough. So as much as I agree that they should be treated, respectfully and all of that, they should also do the fighting themselves. It shouldn't be, we are women, let us have it. It shouldn't come on a platter of gold. If not, the men will always take the meat away from the plate.
Kebi.
Yeah, of course. Even though the women prepare the
Let's hear from the women.
All right.
Yes, let's hear from the women. Kebi, what do you have to say about Women's Month and Nigeria? Are we going forward with women's rights?
Over time in Nigeria, it's a case of we see 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. Though in some sectors, politics for one, you see 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. Now, in this current parliament, we have lesser women compared to the 9th assembly. But if you look at the business scene, the business sector, it's not that way. Most MSMEs are run by women. Women own the businesses. Yes, there are challenges that bedevil what they do. There are challenges that rock them in the face, but these women have shown resilience. They've ensured that businesses don't die in their hands. They've pushed forward. There are policies that really don't favor women before now. Some of them we're still struggling with them. For instance, you go to a bank, you want to borrow money, you're going for a loan, and then they're telling you to bring a piece of land as collateral. And in Nigeria, the women own lands. When your father, for instance, passes on tomorrow, all the land, of course, they will will it to your brother. You, the woman, they tell you to go to your husband's village. Do you know that women in Nigeria, we don't have identity? Do you know? We don't have identity, particularly if you are married. I think, Shiri, why are you laughing?
No,
Why are you giggling?
Please.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
As a married woman, for instance, okay,
Yeah.
originally I'm from Edo State. Born and brought up, father, mother, Edo. I married an Ondo man. If today I want to go into politics, do you know that if I go to Edo, they will tell me, You are married. We have collected yam. We have collected salt. We have collected all the gbogbo tigbo on your head. Go to your husband's people. Go and sort it over there. And if you go there, those ones too will chase you back. No.
That's a one from her home state.
Yeah, it's a 0.0001.
Yeah, because of Nigeria is a very traditional country, clearly, and so some of these things are these traditional values mean a lot to.
Did you want to say patriarchal?
Exactly, because I wanted to ask, you mean patriarchal or traditional?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the word. That's the word you want to use, fine, yes. Also, when you look at a number of things, politically, for example, in the Senate today, out of 109 senators, we have 4 female senators, or rather 4 senators that are not recognized as females. Since you say there are no female senators in the House, and to a large degree, also the women are not, when you look at what's happening, it doesn't also seem like women are also supporting women to a large degree. And I stand to be corrected on this. I'm a man, so I wouldn't know. But we saw Senator Etagiwa come out on national television to say affirmative action is undemocratic. She said that. She didn't insinuate it. She said it. Affirmative action is undemocratic. We also we also saw yesterday. We also saw. Wait now, but that stands to be debated. It stands to be debated. We also went ahead to see the president's wife, the first lady of the country, come out yesterday to say, look, the chamber is hollowed and it's sacred and blah 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 blah.
Protecting the institution.
There is also a clip right now that's trending on X of her seconds away from throwing hands with Dino Molaye in the House when she was a senator. Yeah. How is that hollowed? No. How is that protecting the institution? Look at it objectively. So you can't, kind of say one thing and then act a different way. I must say, I should also say, when she was making that statement yesterday, she was coming out of an event where she was speaking on women empowerment. Yeah, so when you look, I mean, I'm not a woman.
Yes. So leave.
Want to cut on what happened.
Leave Anayo. Leave Shuge for me. You're not a woman. I am a woman.
Exactly. I'm not.
See, do you know that when issues happen, when things come up, you know that there are people that will willingly support, and there are people that will be motivated to support. We do not know where Senator Itagiwa is coming from. Whether she was willingly.
Why are you not trying to justify what she was saying? No, she came willingly. We can assume she came willingly.
You are assuming.
Yes.
Stop assuming.
Did you watch her interview?
Assuming.
No. Because if you saw her interview, it's safe to presume. No, hear me out now. It's safe to presume because she wasn't talking like she was reading from a script. She was talking before she started the interview. She said, "Look, if you are here to discuss female empowerment, I am the wrong person." She said that. I'm not making this up. She said it. So it's not like
Are you ready to say me?
Well, that stands to be debated, right? You could say yes or no. But go ahead, Kemi. I'm sorry. I won't talk again. I'm not a woman.
Okay. You're not a woman, so leave it for women.
He for she.
Whatever she said on that national television that day could have been motivated with something somewhere or the other. So let's leave that fact. Let's leave Senator Itagiwa out of this.
Let me just say,
I am one person
before you continue.
You said you
right
will
now,
not interrupt.
I'll not interrupt. Only this one. Okay, fine. Go ahead.
See, I'm one person that believes that women support women.
Okay.
Because I've seen it happen. I've enjoyed it. Man.
I mean, I'm not talking about like in the same compound. Like, of course you support now. I mean, like on a political scale. I mean, systematically, like in the institution. I'm not talking about like.
Yes, I'm talking about being in the institution.
Okay.
In the broadcast industry, I've enjoyed tremendous support from women.
Yes.
Women who have held me by the hand and are still holding me by the hand.
Nobody has held me yet, Chabo. Okay.
No, but you mentioned the women who have come along.
Can you allow me finish?
Hardened by the political.
Let's allow the
Is it your month?
We don't have a month. If we had a month, sure we will not be talking about our own. No, we don't have now.
Next day.
Continue.
This is the patriarchy you are talking about.
Ah?
You won't even let women
You get it?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
You
ahead.
get it? You will not even let women talk.
Please go ahead.
So, women do support women, okay? Women do. If they believe in you, I bet you they'll support you.
Yes.
No.
I'm not. I never claimed to be an ally. Let's get it right. I never claimed to be an ally.
No, but let me quickly say this. But for women, would have had two laws.
I'm a man's man. Okay,
no,
go ahead.
they would have had two very beautiful laws now.
Yes.
In fact, that law would have taken care of what is happening in the National Assembly. the bill on sexual harassment by Senator Chris Ayao and the bill against indecent dressing
Yes.
by Senator Ofote Kaite.
Yes.
Who killed those bills? Who stormed the National Assembly? Women. To stop those bills.
Yes.
Senator Dahiru.
Sorry, just before you go on, who stopped those bills, Miss Gemi? Who
They
stopped
marched
those
to the
bills?
National Assembly and said, look,
Okay.
nobody should tell us how we dress. And sexual, you see, it is the women that will kill their own bills. Thank God you said a man brought a bill that has to do with gender.
Yeah.
So we're doing well.
That's
We're
a
doing
man
well.
that feels that really understands the fact that when a woman is at the table, there is a difference.
We know.
Take it or leave it. Shige,
course.
you have a wife, you have a mommy in the house. I
He
know
doesn't have
that-
a wife.
Really? You think
Okay.
so?
All right.
You know the difference mommy brings to the table, don't you?
Of course, yes.
Oh, in every aspect.
That's my
and
mom in my house.
All right.
I don't know why you guys are
You
bringing
know,
me to the National Assembly. I mean,
Earlier on, we were talking about affirmative action,
Yeah,
right?
affirmative
And
action,
I
yeah.
also am of the opinion that it's not necessarily democratic. And a
Yeah.
country that has a president now that is trying to get rid of it is the US.
It's an aberration.
Yeah, we have Donald Trump. He's saying no more DEIs, DIEs.
DEIs.
All right. You know, he's
It's
trying
an
to scrap
aberration.
that. But that's not what we're talking about Donald Trump right now. Let's talk about his issue with Zelensky, the Ukrainian president. Have you guys all seen the clip and the
Yeah, we have.
altercation?
It went viral. Last week.
So, what do you have to say about that?
I felt sad. I didn't like the way Trump treated Zelensky. And by the way, that's the first time we're seeing something like that happening before TV.
On national TV,
Yeah,
right?
and in the Oval Office. I like Trump. You know, when he was coming, I celebrated him. But
no wonder you have these views.
no, but the way he treated Zelensky, I mean, you don't bully a president of the country. One now wonders what happens to African leaders when they get into Oval Office. I mean, do they crawl? Do they go? Yeah, because Zelensky still have to stand his ground before the president of the United States. And look at the
Yeah,
trend.
he has to stand his
Yeah,
ground.
but
because,
do African leaders do the same thing?
no,
Can
because African leaders don't go to the White House.
No, they
and
do.
Sit down, wait now,
Our
and
former
ask,
president was there.
for money. No, so you have to understand the context of what the conversation was about, right? Which
So
is
what
something
did
I
they
feel
go
like,
ask
which
for?
is something I feel like a lot of people miss. What Zelensky is asking for was U.S. troops in Ukraine. Right now, what started
And
this
money,
entire
and money.
and money? Now, what started this entire war? You have to understand that already the U.S. has given Ukraine over $50 billion,
That's
right? And Donald Trump is simply saying, "Look, we didn't dash you this money.
Yes.
We're borrowing you this money, and you are going to give us this money back one way or the other.
Yeah.
And so let's sign a minerals treaty where you give us minerals worth of that amount from your country, and we can keep giving you funding, but we will not send troops." And Zelensky, that does not seem to be enough for him. And that's one of the major things that started this back and forth. Now you have to understand, did Zelensky not come out just the day before yesterday to say, look, some of the remarks I made at the White House, I should not
Of
have
course,
made
that's
them.
politics now.
I'm ready to go back and I'm ready to
Of
sign
course,
the
but
mineral
it
deal.
was good. He
Yes,
stood up against them because
But it was pointless.
But wait, guys, wait. What is actually the problem? Why is it that Africa, no, yes, Zelensky, Ukraine, Russia is not Africa. But how come that we like to sell off our future? Now, you want to use mineral that is for the children, to pay off a debt that nobody forced you to enter into war with. What is our problem?
Well, first of all, in Zelensky's case, it's not entirely
But
his
sure, you
fault
didn't answer my
because
question.
Russia
What
declared
do
war on
African
him, not the
leaders
other
do
way
when they
around.
go to the Oval Office?
If
And
a
say-
man wants
say-
to fight and
say-
refuse to fight, will
if-
the fight
if
happen?
a country as rich as Ukraine,
He'll destroy you.
Will it happen?
Yes, it will. He will destroy
Eh.
you. That's what I'm saying. She said if somebody wants to fight Russia and say they want to fight with them, will the fight happen? Yes, it will. If Russia declares war on you and say they want to fight Russia, Putin will drop bombs on you one way or the other.
but you know,
whether you choose to engage or
And then you
not.
think the world would have watched
What you do not know is that
Putin
What we
to
don't know
finish Ukraine.
is that
No,
Ukraine,
wait.
you
You
Ukraine
have
is
to understand what caused this war, right? I'm very, very sorry, but you have to understand what caused this war. President Putin met with the president before George Bush. What was his name? Please remind me.
Obama.
No, not Obama. Before
Obasanjo?
before Bush.
No.
Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
So President Putin comes to me, President Bill Clinton, and tells him, "Look, I'm hearing that there's some conversation going on about, countries in the East joining NATO. Russia has no interest whatsoever in joining NATO. Yes, I believe that's the case. And so, no, I beg your pardon. It was the other way around. President Putin met President Bill Clinton and said, "Oh, Russia would like to join NATO." He says, "Okay, I'll think about it and we'll let you know." President Clinton comes back and tells President Putin, "We're not interested in Russia joining NATO." Russia says, "Okay, that's fine." Now the next president comes, who is President Bush, right? And so President Bush comes and Putin meets President Bush and says, "Hey, we're interested in joining NATO a few years ago, but the former president said he's not interested. NATO is not interested in having us." So they said, "Okay, that's fine, that's okay." Putin now says, "Okay, I have one condition. If we can't join NATO, then none of the countries surrounding our borders can join NATO."
Why?
Why?
For security reasons. And
I hope you're
let me
trying not to
explain
try
to you.
to justify Putinism here. Listen.
Because
Ukraine.
there are a lot of things that
Ukraine is an
lead to war.
independent
Because,
country.
no, President Putin has been made out to look like a warmonger who just wants to go around killing people, but that is not the case. You have to understand, he actually had grounds for.
Shuge.
No, let me understand. I'm not supporting
You
war
are.
or killing or any
Crimea,
such
he
thing.
invaded
But if you
Georgia.
understand what is going on, because these countries are around his border.
So?
And they are threatening to join NATO. You have to understand that NATO is a direct enemy.
Oh.
And let me not use the word enemy now. But this is global politics.
Yes.
Global politics reads like Game of Thrones. If you're somebody who has watched Game of Thrones, that's the closest
the
thing
end
you can
justifies the
compare.
means, right?
Not that necessarily
Or
the
might
end
is right.
justifies the means. But if Ukraine had gone ahead to join NATO, there is literally nothing stopping the US or any of the other countries in NATO to wake up one day and say, "We feel like invading Russia and we're going to do it." Nothing can stop them. This is a country and a president who is fighting for the
So
sovereignty
now,
of his nation.
if Zelensky agrees to the deal,
Yes.
and America
With
puts
the US,
boots on the
yes,
ground,
yes.
so what will happen?
America was never going to bring any boots on the ground.
No,
they were simply going to give
but
funds.
that's what he's asking for. If we're giving you our solid minerals,
the minerals is as payment for the funds
The funds given
that
to
they
us.
already gave.
I'm sure the minerals in Ukraine worth more than what that
Of
amount.
course.
So, but I said bullying in the Oval Office.
Yes.
And you can see how
the
they
way that conversation
Yeah.
it could have definitely gone better, but it just goes to show you if you ask yourself questions like, okay, if this is what happens where we can see, then you also have to understand the kind of person that President Trump is. President Trump is a no-nonsense person. This was a guy who throughout his campaign came out fighting,
But it was
swinging.
a very question from Zelensky. J.D. Vance evaded that question when he said, "Look, what other diplomacy do you want us to do? This is a man you can't predict. If we've signed treaties with him and he didn't respect them." And J.D. Vance now resorted to telling him how good the Oval Office is, why he shouldn't talk the way he's talking to the Oval Office. Yes, we know.
He's
They
a
opened it
very
to international
he's a
TV.
very unconventional president.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not supporting some of
But
his methods. He has done some very, very interesting yet questionable things that
Wants to
a
rebuild
president
Gaza,
that a
Atlantis
president
idea.
should
But I like
not
him.
do.
He has Atlantis idea.
But you have to also admit that look, this is a president who is simply rooting for his country to come back to what it was, right? To make his country great again. That's simply what he's doing with the cutting of DEIs, with setting up Doge and Elon running Doge. He's just simply looking out for his country and trying to make sure that they're on the right piece.
Now, Sugar, my worry is if a president like Zelensky gets treated like this in the Oval Office, and African leaders do visit the Oval Office, the question is, how do they get treated? What do they come out of Oval Office with? Are you sure they don't get worse treatment than Zelensky?
I would not want to imagine.
Yeah.
First of all,
I'm asking, I'm just trying to-
I don't think they do. I don't think African leaders do, and I don't think other leaders get the same treatment at the Oval Office. You have to understand there are a lot of factors, and I'm not in Zelensky's head, I'm not in Donald Trump's head, or even J.D. Vance's head to understand what the context of that conversation was. But Nigerian leaders and African leaders have always carried themselves with class when they go for international
You said?
meetings. Well, most times they carry themselves with class. Aside from a few incidents, right? But when President,
I'm glad you said a few.
But when President Buhari went to the U.S. to see President Barack Obama, I believe, no, it was President Trump also during his first tenure.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, it was a very smooth
a conversation that they had. They had a press conference on the lawn of the White House. It was very straightforward.
The TV camera.
It is the one they want you to see
and
that
on
you will
sanitary
see,
comment,
oh.
anyway, let's not go
Mind
to that.
you.
There's on sanitary comment coming from the Oval Office after that visit, but that's bygone. But we also remember that when people were described as fantastically corrupt in one of
Yes.
those meetings outside
Yes.
Nigeria. So, well,
I mean, that's perception. That's a perception thing. But even that perception is not entirely false. And that was made by the Archbishop of Canterbury in the UK, right, where he didn't know his microphone was on, and he made that statement to the person sitting next to him. It's not a lie. Let's be honest. It's not a lie that we are fantastically corrupt.
why is
It is something we are
Nigeria-
trying
So
to
you are.
stop. It is something we are trying to stop being.
Shuge.
We are trying to
you
stop being fantastically corrupt. But I mean, we wouldn't use those exact words. But there is a hint of corruption in the country
No, but
to a large
not only
degree.
in Nigeria, but why is Africa not considered? I mean, nobody invites African leaders to talk about, look, we're going to stop aid coming to Africa. And, I mean, we're not saying if African leader go to the Oval Office and say, okay, this is why we need aid. Africa seems to be sidelined by this current administration of President Trump.
No, see, for me, in all of this, I think African leaders, Nigerian leaders, the incumbent, the one that's going to succeed him, the one that's going to succeed the one that will succeed him. I think it's high time when we go to the table for conversation, let's bring forth our best food. It's
The question is, what is our best food?
Yeah.
We know.
Crude. That's it. That's our best food. Crude. How much is crude selling for right now?
it has dropped.
About 70 something dollars
Yeah,
a barrel.
70,
right?
72.
Which now brings to the
Also-
conversation on when the budget, and we discussed this morning, when the budget was being drafted, it was estimated that we would be making about 82 barrels. Sorry, we
82.
will be selling it at $82 per barrel, and we'll be making about 2.06 million barrels a day. Right now, we're making 1.7 million barrels a day. So that's
We'll
a whole
get
different
there.
conversation
We'll
on
get
how
there.
is the budget now going to be implemented if we can't even make the money from
tax
crude.
reforms are
That's why I
coming.
said when you're going, go with your best food so that you do not have to go.
But that's what I'm saying. The
you don't
whole world
have
is
to
moving
go
past our.
begging.
The whole world is moving past our
Because
best food. Our
most
best food
times-
is crude. The world is trying to move to renewable energy now.
Most times, when leaders go for these bilateral meetings,
Mm-hmm.
it's usually a case of you're using style to beg. So we should not use style to beg. We should go beyond using style to beg
Mm-hmm.
and then selling of our future. Like you remember the time that NNPC had to do use crude
Yeah.
that is yet
It's
to be
still on now.
produced.
They're
You
still
know,
paying it.
That's why the incident that happened at the National Assembly shouldn't have happened because the British lawmakers, parliamentarians were there. And someone told us, yes, we were there, and said, look, when these lawmakers, because they were taking notes
Yes.
during the plenary, they are going to document this and say, when we visit Nigeria in 2025, while observing the plenary, a female lawmaker alleged that the presiding officer made sexual practice attack. That will be documented in the British
Yes.
library.
Yeah.
So
You
this
don't
is not
do
good for
reports.
us. And that's why we should-
When they visit you, they'll do reports.
Well, we've been having an interesting conversation, but it's about time we call it a day. I mean, we talked about a lot of things today. We talked about Natasha, Senator Natasha, the issue with Natasha, and how many times would I say that? And we also talked about, Women's Month, which happy International Women's Day, happy International Women's Month. I hope every woman out there is aware that she is loved and respected. That's all I have to say about that. And also, Yemi, we also talked about Zelensky and the US president. And there was a comment you made when we were talking about how that affects African leaders. And you said that, African leaders, it seems they are sidelined. I think it was Anayo that said that. Yes. So, but I believe that, they are not necessarily sidelined, but there's not any country that is going to pay attention to your country as much as you would do. So everyone is just focused on their own country. The US is trying to do what they have to do for the betterment of their own people. They are not going to put your matter on their head, So it's just up for our African leaders to step up so that they can also sit at these tables and they can sit confidently. Not that they will go there and they're like, they have to be humble because they know they don't have anything.
By fire, by force, humble.
Exactly. So, but this is where we draw the curtain here on the Pod of View. It's been an amazing time. Thank you so much, Shuge, Kemi, Anayo. Thank you so much, guys. for your opinions, even though some people's opinions were, questionable. I won't call names. But, thank you so much for coming on. So do you guys have any like parting words for the viewers, the listeners? What do you have to say?
Happy Women's Day.
Okay. Before I say Happy Women's Day,
Yeah.
Anayo, 30 seconds.
I want to say African leaders should learn to be independent. I'm not saying we necessarily to the line of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, but let's see how. Let's look inwards. And prepare for the future. On that note, Happy Women's Day. Thank you.
Women's Month.
Women's
The whole month is for us.
Oh, Happy Women's Month.
But it's just one day that's actually your day.
No, sir.
Yeah, you people just claim
No,
the
sir.
month.
It is the whole month.
No, it's
you
a
see
day.
March. You see
Let's
March
not do
1
some
to
misogynistic things. Okay? This is Women's Month, and that's it. Kevin.
Okay, for me, happy Women's Day to every woman out there. Please know your worth, know your value, know that you carry something in the inside of you. Do not let anyone,
It's a woman's word.
do not let anyone, harass you
Yeah.
in whatever way. Knock it off and keep moving. Yes.
Sugar.
I mean, well, obviously, yes. Just to piggyback off of what Anna said, African leaders need to do better, definitely. Unfortunately, that's not the case of what we're seeing in Nigeria. Since the USAID was scrapped, you would think that would be a sign for, Nigerian leaders and other African leaders to say, okay, yes, now we're going to step up our game. We saw the director of the World Trade Organization, Konje Iweala, come out to say, look, no, this is the end of, getting help from outside. We're going to face our front and we're going to start, get our things together, get our act together. But unfortunately, that's not what we saw. Just about 2 weeks after the USAID was scrapped, we saw the Minister of the Economy, we saw the CBN president travel to Saudi, go to China, asking for even more aid. So it's quite unfortunate that's what we're seeing. Hopefully, we can get out of this rut in a while. The economy is starting to balance up, particularly in Nigeria, from what we saw last year. The economy is starting to balance, getting closer to now. And I hope that we look like we're starting to get our act together, and I hope we can keep it up. And actually, just as Anaya said, when we go into rooms to have these meetings, we can actually bring something forward instead of just have our hands out to collect.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I had fun, and I hope the viewers enjoyed this episode. If you want to see more of this, all you have to do is follow us on our social media website. Democracy Radio is on Instagram and Facebook at Democracy Radio, and X, Democracy Radio _. Of course, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the like button, leave your comments in the comment section, be a part of the conversation. Until next episode, stay awesome.